You freak. A second win there for TSM, 2-1 in TSM's favor now in the series. So the first question for me is mental fatigue, the mentality of Team Impulse coming off of 2 losses in a row after a pretty commanding first win of the series.
Yeah, and mental fatigue is something I have a lot of experience with because I'm so used to losing. So when you're behind, you have to make more decisions and harder decisions in a shorter span of time from when you're ahead. When you're in control of the game, you can either take your time or the decisions are easier because you have more opportunities. So when you're behind like Team Impulse is, actually there's a lot of mental fatigue and people will attribute this to like tilting or, oh, well, they're choking. But really it's just you can't make that many decisions game after game after game and have them all turn out well. So when they're backs to the wall and they'll have to lose one more game to get out, it gets increasingly harder to make good decisions as the series goes on.
They also didn't kind of capitalize on what was going well for them in game 1. Like, the fact that they decided to change their strategy is absolutely baffling to me. Like, they haven't run a TP Smite top laner since then. I understand you want to run TF mid, right? You're banning Cassiopeia for that reason. But if you want that strategy, why would you pick starting blue side games 2 and 4? Why don't you just pick red side and get it as a counter pick? Because you're going to get counter picked by Bjergsen, and he's going to play LeBlanc into you every time. Like, it's just absolutely strange to me that TIP came into this with something that looked like a ton of prep for red side. Then when they're playing blue side, the side that they chose, they just dropped the ball. Over and over again so far.
And I just want to talk a little bit about Xiao Zhao because I feel like even if TIP loses, I got to give this guy some credit before it's too late. This guy is so good. I feel like he is a player with amazing mechanics, as you saw. He's dodging everything, hitting every skill shot that he needs to be. Really quick fingers. Also amazing game sense. You can tell when he's playing TF and Karthus, he knows exactly what's going across the map at all times. The only problem is I feel like he's on the either a wrong team or a team that is not built to help him. He can possibly win every 1v1 matchup against Bjergsen. He's just not given the opportunity because TIP is not giving him any resources. And when he does get a lead in CS or gold or even in pressure, TIP doesn't help him drive it home. So he doesn't really get to push Bjergsen in and make him useless. And it's just really TSM bullying him around despite the fact that he's such a great player.
And you could see all the resources TSM put in there. They were like, all right, winning matchup for Bjergsen last pick, it's like, boom, let's throw Lustboy into mid, Santorin into mid, and everybody's just throwing all the skill shots at him, right? You can only dodge them for so long.
That's it's a very interesting point, Doublelift, about the fact that he is a mechanically skilled player but isn't given the resources to work with, because we saw so often he would push it in, wild cards out with TF, push the lane in, and then just go sit by his turret. He literally had nothing else to do, so unless they give him a good ultimate to another lane, he's rendered ineffective.
And the most hilarious part to me is, critically, this is the guy who's getting counterpicked all 3 games so far in this series, and he just doesn't care. Like, he's just playing out of his mind, actually. The fact that he's even able to go even in CS or pressure with Bjergsen, and TSM is a team that pressures mid almost always with Lustboy and Santorin, just highlights the fact that he's just playing so well in this series.
So then I think where we go from there is needing to, wishing the Team Impulse would utilize his ability to stave off that mid lane pressure for so long, because he did do it for so long. Kobe gave him praise for having played that lane so well until he walked into that hook from Lustboy. But through all that time, TSM is funneling resources mid, and Impulse wasn't capitalizing elsewhere on the map, knowing that they could put man advantages in other lanes.
Yeah, and what I will say is, if you kind of break down Team Impulse's performance so far in this series, Apollo and Adrian have had little to no game impact. Or I would say Adrian has decent game impact, but Apollo is really doing almost nothing in these games in terms of pressure. If you compare his pressure in the map compared to Wild Turtle, he's almost always at a disadvantage. What you'll see is there's a potential for game impact coming from mid lane that they're just not tapping into, and instead they're just forcing plays in the jungle with Adrian and Rush, and they're just trying to snowball that into Impact's lane, and that's a really predictable playstyle. Xiao Zhao is also locked into a predictable playstyle. He's just going to be farming mid lane. They need to change something up fundamentally about the team in this next game if they want to win.
Yeah, and it wasn't working for them when they were like, we're going to have jungle and top pressure when they got shut down, because it was predictable. In TSM, we're like, all right, invade him early, keep him down, keep the lane swap going. Like, that was really in TSM's favor. They won the lane swap pretty handily.
And that's where I want to make the transition over to TSM, because that first game, Dyrus went down 0-2 in lane very early, and we saw a lot of that be the reason why the TP Smite Shyvana, which we said worked out very well, but Impact having that leg up over Dyrus allowed them to affect the rest of the map. In these next 2 games, Dyrus having a much more solid performance, and we pointed both him and Lustboy out as being, people that, although they're not looking for tons of farm, tons of damage, and huge plays. Their consistent performance throughout the rest of this series is going to be kind of what seals the game for TSM. So getting Dyrus into a comfortable position here, I think, is the way that TSM secures the series.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of that is TIP's letting TSM play their own game. TIP is not dictating the pace like they normally do. Like, the fact that they have the TP Shyvana as a strat coming in, the fact that they're letting Santorin have this pressure jungler that can also transition into a tank in late game fights is something that TIP need to reevaluate. You cannot let TSM play their own game because they're going to beat you at it.
Yeah, and I think the thing that's really throwing Impulse off is just how great Santorin's playing. Like,
Yeah.
this guy is playing amazing this series, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that he's been getting Gragas these last 2 games, and a lot of people underestimate that champion in terms of game impact. I mean, Santorin's hitting great ultis, great body slams. He's snowballing early game every game so far with Gragas. Bjergsen's just expected to play amazing. Turtle and Lustblur are holding up and doing well late game. Like, this is just a team that's playing their game.
Yep. Pressure's on Impulse, definitely, here going into Game 4. Now, Team Solomid are just 1 game away from locking up their spot in the finals. We'll see if they can get it done or if Team Impulse can push the series to 5 games. Don't go anywhere.
Guys, I'm so hungry.
Same.
Oh my god.
I'm hungry for kills.
I'm so hungry, dude. Can we end this fast?
Gonna get the kill over to Lustboy. The fight's still continuing. Teleport comes in from the TSM top laner. Adrian in a pretty bad spot. Flash over, but still caught up by Dyrus.
I think we can still fight. We can still
Yeah,
fight.
we can still fight. I hit them all.
I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
Going?
I'm going on impact.
Wait out. I'll follow.
3 seconds.
Gonna follow him soon into the death chambers, and now Apollo, nice filter to keep himself up. Impact gets a stun, but it's a 3 versus 5. A little bit of damage comes through. The tankies are pretty big though, and Apollo's gonna be killed. Wild Turtle does trade back. 80 carries are gone, but it's still a 3 versus 4 in TSM's favor.
Team Solomid now 1 game away from their 5th consecutive North American LCS finals.